Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming back to another video broadcast over here at Ellis Network. Um, Everyone over here at YouTube knows that I went live for the very first time on my channel, and I have to say that I was very pleased with the activity from it. So thank you guys for tuned in last night on my live feed, and also thank you to you guys that went back and watched the replay. Um, Giving me the likes and the shares and the support. It's much appreciated. Now, there's one thing. Yesterday, before I did this speech, I announced it at like 10:30 in the morning that I was going to go live last night, and throughout the whole day, I just had the process going through my mind. And I said that, last night, if you guys notice, I pulled out a piece of paper. Well, I wrote down keywords to help me remember key points to talk about. And one thing that after I went live, I'm sitting there, I'm watching the video, and I'm listening to myself talk. And one thing I didn't bring up was police, the activity from the law enforcement. And I really believe that depending on how law enforcement handles the situation November 4th is how violent and how crazy it would get. We've seen in the past many times, with these protests, Antifa's out there and they're agitated and irritated at the sight of police officers. And then whenever heavy protesting has been happening, heavy, agitating individuals, agitating people, and the police show up and start showing their presence, that's when Antifa and alternative left groups start getting irritated. And then we all watch these other live feeds that's in different cities and whatnot, and you're watching these people, vandalize property and, getting in people's faces and spitting, and the cops are just standing there not doing anything. And a lot of people, is questioning the motives of the police officers. Like, how can you guys just stand there? And there was a lot of speculation that, there was police officers that were just not wanting to do their job because they wanted to further the division. I don't think it was that. I think that's just an ideology that's, being spun off. However, I've seen a lot of posts and a lot of articles backing up each other, saying that in some of these cities that's ran by Democratic leaders, and also in sanctuary cities where these massive protests are being taking a stand, a lot of the police departments and a lot of the police officers were told to stand down. They're told to be there for presence only, but if anything goes on, stand down, just let it happen. Again, I've seen that happen plenty of time again before, watching live feeds with Antifa and anti-fascists and Black Lives Matter, the ones that's causing problems, and the cops are just sitting in the back. And then, like I said, mainly it happened in Democratic leaders' communities or sanctuary cities. And yesterday I brought out a video talking about sanctuary cities, and I think I touched base on sanctuary cities again last night. So, that's just, it really depends on how the police and law enforcement handles this situation. I think you're going to have some police departments that's out there, going to try to enforce the law. And we know Antifa, they'll spin it around and make it look like that the police officers are actually the ones that's being the terrorists and the one that's attacking their free speech and all that. We've seen it time and time again, and for the ones of you guys that haven't, there's tons of information out there. There's videos, there's clips, there's audio. You just got to get off my channel and go look for the information. It's there. So I talked last night about the alternate right. If you had Antifa out there protesting, and I see so much of the alternative right views on November 4th saying that they're locked and loaded, they're ready to go out and start shooting people, and basically you're fighting hate with hate, and that could most definitely spiral things way out of control. Also with police presence and the police activity within these protests, is another thing that I see that could actually spiral things out of control as well. So, everyone that supports the police officers, blue lives matter, black lives matter, white lives, we all matter. Okay, all lives matter. But like I said, it really depends on how the police involvement goes, because I seriously think that if the police officers that are there to actually uphold the law, I don't think they're going to care if you're on the Antifa side or the alternative right side. If you're going to be there to cause any kind of chaos, whether or not you're representing Antifa, or if you're representing, the alternative right, another worst case scenario is Antifa, alternative right, and the police force duking it out in the city streets, all while the Department of Defense is doing the black drill. So there's just a couple things to think about another thing to think about when we think of November 4th. All right, now I'm on this webpage. I woke up this morning, my daily routine. I get my energy drink, my cigarette, and I sit here and I read some news. I come across this article on WND, and it's saying that they're WorldNetDaily.com, the digital pioneer in independent online news since '97 for 20 years. I never heard of them, but they have this article out talking about Antifa, and it's interesting. Now I'm gonna read a little bit of the article to you guys. There's a lot of keywords that you can click on in this story to get a deeper sense of the story, and I just don't have time for all that to bring to you guys, but I will post a link in the article. I will post a link of the article. I gotta get used to saying it that way. In the description, and you guys can read it. And if you guys have the extra time, more than welcome to hit those keywords, get a better sense. So anyways, this came out, 11 hours ago. This is fresh news that's breaking right now. And it's about Antifa and how they threaten free speech on campuses. Now, we know that Antifa, they're young individuals, mainly young college students, undoctrined minds. Now, for them to be attacking free speech on college campuses, that's pretty significant. We know Antifa, we know most of these young Americans that's involved in Antifa, and they're and again, you guys remember last night when I said, I do believe you have the right to be out there protesting as long as it's peaceful. But you're going to have some agitators out there. I forgot to mention the word radicalized, okay? And nowadays, in today's society, when we think of radicalized, we think of Muslims. We think of ISIS. We think of Al-Qaeda. There's radicalization in any culture. So, I'm going to, if you want to be harsher about it, you can just straight up call them fucking terrorists, which I won't disagree with you. But I also believe that not every single one of these people that's supporting the movement is actually out there to cause problems. I seriously think, like, if you're out there and you're supporting this movement, and if civil war breaks out November 4th, I think you're going to have a lot of people that support the idea of Antifa finally questioning, after everything breaks out, questioning themselves, like, what the hell did they get into? Last night, at the end of my live feed, I said, if you guys are following me and you guys are a part of Antifa or get the idea, just hear me out real quick and think long and hard about what you're doing. I do believe that there's radicalization within. Hell, I even brought up months ago that there was actually a paper trail, and you guys can go back in my recent history in my videos and look for it. I'll have to go back and look for it and see if I can post the article or the video in the description as well, talking about that. However, ISIS may be tied in with Antifa here in America. We know that, Obama, he's been a part of the Muslim Brotherhood. He supported the Muslims heavily, and that's fine. I'm not trying to make this about a racist thing. Again, I believe that there's a difference between Muslim community and the radicalized Muslim community. The minute that we can identify the two, the world will get along a lot better. Nowadays, everyone wants to think of every Muslim radicalized. Okay, so, anyways, I brought out that maybe in fact, because if you kind of follow Antifa's genre, I shall say, it kind of fits the same as ISIS and how ISIS does things. They go around, they destroy, monuments, sacred monuments. Well, Antifa's over here destroying religion monuments, Confederate monuments. They're doing anything and everything to erase history, same as ISIS. Also, there's other countries. I watched in one of my videos last night. I'll post a link in the article in the description for this one as well, for this video, to one of my channels that I subscribe to. And he's talking about how the Roman Church is actually trying to usher in the New World Order. They're starting to remove crosses. I think it was in, I can't remember, a different country where they're trying to remove the cross of David. And that's if you're a Christian, that's a major turning point, within Christianity. So, it's actually being shown that maybe the Roman Vatican in Rome may be the one that's actually trying to set up the New World Order. I don't have the facts to back that up, but that's a very plausible idea. There's a lot of information out there about that. There's a lot of facts that would back that theory up. You just have to go do the research and figure it out. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this article again. I'm going to read it to you guys, but I'm going to put the link in the description. You guys can click on it if you guys want to further get more details on this exact story. There's keywords that you can click on that would open up other links that would take you to another story. So anyways, universities are supposed to be places open to free expression and the exchange of ideas, and we know that. But today there is no repressive place in the country than a typical American campus. And the leading opponents of free speech are the masked, violent, and extreme leftists known as Antifa. And little bastards. The left-wing extremists have grown increasingly militant in tactics and are using to shut down ideological opponents on campus. Hundreds of mass protesters at University of Minnesota recently conducted a violent protest against a speech by conservative activist and YouTube commentator Lauren Southern. I don't know who that is. I'm definitely going to look up Lauren here in a little while and see what it is. She supposedly showed up to Minnesota campus and Antifa was there protesting and it got violent. And she's a YouTube commentator. Lauren Southern, just like Southern, if you guys want to check that out as well. Again, her name would be right here in the article. You guys can, Fights erupted outside the event, forcing police to intervene. Members of the conservative group Collegians and Constructive Constructive Tomorrow, also known as CFACT, which hosted the event, say they were tagged and set upon by a masked Antifa activist who spat on them, hit them, shoved them off bicycles, and even maced them. Now, guys, this is the movement. This is the ideology that's coming out in the streets, supposedly, the 4th. If you supported Trump, you're a Nazi. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You're a sexual predator. And they're all claiming that everything's peaceful. And in reality, in my opinion, I think they're the ones that's, you've heard me say this term plenty of times. Let's talk about calling the kettle black here, guys. Alright? I supported Trump, and I'm by all means not supporting, any of that shit. I'm not, I have friends that are black. I have friends that are gay. I think we just need to get back to the part of society where we learn how to respect one another and our opinions instead of fighting and trying to divide over them. This article has a video from the protest. As revealed in the WND special report, Antifa, what Americans need to know about the alternate left, so-called anti-fascists, are simply communists and anarchists operating under a brand designed to disguise their extremist agenda. Violence is inherent to the Antifa program, as activists explicitly and overly reject the right of free speech for anyone they design as fascist. Again, if you don't agree with their ideologies, you're going to be called a Nazi. You're going to be called a fascist. We've seen time and time again, these guys are very vocal and they are very threatening if you even bring up the idea of a debate. You can bring facts to the table, but the minute that they have an idea and you attack that ideology with facts, and they're quick to just start causing harm or cause some kind of disarray. They can never really show facts to back up their ideas. As the report notes, according to Antifa definition of what constitutes fascist or oppressive ideas, the vast majority of all human beings everywhere, all the time and throughout history, are rendered proto-fascist. Racism is another word meaning one thing to Antifa and something entirely different to almost everything else, or everyone else. Okay, so we know my generation, racism only had one thing, and that was the hatred between one another. Here in America, American culture, whenever we think of racism, we think of whites versus blacks. Because we had the Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, you had the KKK and the alternative white nationalist groups and all this. However, if you hate Chinese people, if you hate, Muslims, Canadians, Mexicans, it's a form of racism. Not just hate, but racism. That's what this is basically trying to say. So most Americans, liberal or conservatives, would say that they oppose racism. If asked to define racism, they might say it's hating people because of their ethnic or racial origin, believing certain groups are inherently inferior, or acting cruelly towards others because they are different from you. However, in the eyes of Antifa and those who practice critical race theory at American universities, and here we go, racism means failing to support a sweeping program of social revolution to dismantle Western civilization itself. Sounds like a New World Order agenda, almost. Again, to dismantle Western civilization. Guys, this has been the plan, not just for the world, but the fall of America. Ever since the beginning of America's always been that guiding light for the rest of the world, we being the youngest nation. But at one time, we was the best nation in the world. We was number one in a lot of things around the world. Now we are horrible in economics, horrible in education. I think the only thing that America is number one around the world is the ratio between children and adults who believe in angels. Just my opinion. In the eyes of Antifa, supporters of traditional marriage, capitalism, and President Trump are fascists and legitimate targets for violence and repossession. Conservatives and libertarians are especially under the threat on college campuses, when faculty often justify the use of violence against political opponents and may even openly identify as Antifa. Alright. Again, you guys know I'm working on this laptop. This laptop's like 5 years old. It's really slow. So give me a minute as I'm scrolling down, and it takes a second. So, for example, more than 100 faculty at Dartmouth University condemned university's president Philip Hanlon when he criticized Mark Bray, a visiting faculty member at Dartmouth's Gender Research Institute and the author of Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Bray is a vocal supporter of the leftist movement who writes about the handbook and the needs to punish not just fascists but supporters of Donald Trump. So the whole idea being pushed out to Antifa and these radicalized Americans, again, I said that word radicalized, that's not just the simple fact that if they take the time out to listen to your views and they don't agree, you're a fascist. But even right off the rip, if you support Donald Trump, if you walk around with a Trump hat on or a Trump shirt, you're going to automatically be a target. Automatically. There's articles, there's news, there's so much information being brought out about how violent Antifa would be towards Trump supporters during November 4th. So, again, if you guys support Trump, please, just stay out of the cities for a couple days. Alright, just don't pay them no mind. We already know from recent protests and recent activity that we've seen from Antifa, they'll attack a Trump supporter no problem. But now that we're coming up on the possibility of civil war, there's a lot of fake news being pushed out as well. I'm seeing stories, and, maybe it's not fake. I haven't seen anything other than sit here at the computer or on my phone and read these stories, but has no other evidence backing it up from different sources. So, but they're talking about, in certain places, they're willing to start beheading, cutting Trump supporters' heads off right in the middle of the street. Like, how do we get here from, society to where we are now? I mean, it's amazing. And not in a good way. I mean, like, it's really, really sad. Alright, so Antifa around the country also seem to regard Trump supporters and colleague Republicans as legitimate targets. At Columbia University in New York, Antifa circulated mugshots of members of the college Republican campus chapter and anonymously told supporters to tell them what you think after the group invited independent journalist Mike Cernovich to campus October 30th with Herman Cain, Dennis Prager, and other speakers. So again, Republican speakers are showing up. Antifa's there to protest. They're not even giving these guys a chance to speak. They're so doctrined in their minds, so radicalized already, they don't even want to hear it. Like, they don't have time to even try to comprehend, common sense. I guess I could say that. Typically, Antifa justifies the threats on the ground. People of color, immigrants, Muslims, LGBTQIA folks, etc. feel threatened to an entirely larger degree of every movement in their lives now. Again, you have so many people coming out. It's a weird time in society, where the LGBT community, they're fighting for acceptance. And my opinion, guys, you guys don't bother me. Do your thing. Okay, but if you're going to go out and start protesting and act like fucking retards, I'll call it as I see it. I mean, man. Framing any conservative politic action as an aggression. So, though Antifa typically shun law enforcement and the courts, some have turned to the legal system to harass conservative students. Yvette Filarcier, the lead organizer of BAMN, BAMN, by any means necessary, that's what that stands for, and a participant in numerous violent political protests, filed a restraining order against the head of Berkeley College Republicans. The order was recently dismissed by a judge, the fifth such order in BAM that has been dismissed this year. So by any means necessary, they are trying to get restraining orders put on Republicans, to stay away. We're basically trying to build a shield to protect us, even though conservatives, independents, just plain old American citizens are the ones that need protected. Stupid, like the ideology of these people. But when it comes to Antifa, most of that is coming from your average leftist being so unhinged and mentally deranged by Trump winning that they literally believe that fascist dictator is in charge of the White House and they have to stop him by any means necessary. Again, they think that Donald Trump is, a dictator. The harsh regime of Trump Pence must go. That's the whole idea of this protest, November 4th. And, they're not going to stop until their demands have been met. Now, again, we don't know if they're just, really amping their idea up. But, once they get out there and actually start doing stuff, I'm wondering how long will they go before they just say, we're done. we quit. Or they stop this one and plan for the next one because this one failed miserably. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. I really think that this is something that's been boiling up for a long time, for at least a year now, and American citizens and the alternative right and the right groups, they're getting real sick and tired of watching this. And now you're starting to get back and forth between both. You guys got to remember, at the end of the night, man, we're all Americans. We're neighbors, we're brothers, we're sisters. All right, we all believe, the American culture. That's one thing. I can understand that we have a lot of different opinions that split us up, but we still have the fact of the matter that we are all American citizens. That still brings us together. So, again, guys, I'm going to post an article in the description, let you guys read this. It's a long read. I think I only read like half of it, just to give you guys an idea of what to expect when you guys click on this article. And again, there's so many keywords that's blued out that you can click on, and it would bring up definitions and other links to other stories that would in fact give you guys a broader idea of the situation. So anyways, guys, I'll be keeping an eye on Antifa for the next couple of days. That seemed to be a very hot topic on my channel. If you guys like what we're doing, please share my videos. We got to get the word out to people. Help me get more subscribers, get more likes, get more activity on my channel. Ever since I went live last night, I gained 2 new subscribers. If you guys are watching this video that just subscribed to my channel last night, thank you very much. I try my best to interact with everybody. I can understand once I get up, if I ever get up into like the 1,000 subscribers and stuff like that, it would be a little bit harder. But with me having such a small member base, subscriber base, it's a lot easier for me to talk to people, one-on-one, individually, or as in a group. So I will try my best to communicate with my subscribers. And once we start getting bigger, I'm going to start putting my email out there for you guys. You guys can start emailing me, facts and information and whatnot. And we can, my number one thing here, guys, is I just want to network. I want to actually get some meaning out and maybe change someone's life or the way that they think. It is what it is. I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't. I'm not doing this for nobody. No one asked me to get on YouTube and speak. I'm doing this on my own accord. So, again, I'll post a link in the article. You guys can read this. It's crazy. Alright, so be careful. You guys will see me again, I don't know, maybe later on today with some more news. Maybe tonight I'll do another live feed. We'll see how the day progresses. I got trick or treat with my children later. That's at 5 Eastern, and it's over at 7. So, alright, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you guys later. Or have a good day. I'm sorry, I'm still on nighttime.